What we consume.
Ahoy, ahoy, and welcome to What We Consume, a show about all the things we put into our minds and bodies. I'm your host, King Hagathor, and with me, as always, is...
Hey, it's me, Kevin. It might be a while or have been a while since you guys have heard from us or anything like that. So I might be out of practice, but I'm a different man these days. I'm a world traveler. I'm in a different place, in my life and physically and mentally and literally. So, yeah.
And we are once again joined by our good friend, Michael.
Yeah, I'm here. It has been a while. I feel like Kevin says that he's a new man every other episode. So I'm going to have to start tallying that.
It does happen on occasion. Yeah, as Kevin stated, we haven't recorded in a while. Originally, this episode was to come out just after Mother's Day, as well as the 40th anniversary of an event that I don't think enough people know about. So I figured it's time for us to talk about MOVE. Before we get started, Kevin, have you ever heard of the MOVE bombing or the MOVE organization?
Like MOVE?
Yeah.
No, I've never heard of it.
Okay. And Michael, had you ever heard of it before we started talking about it?
I've heard like bits and pieces of it. I didn't know it was like called that was like the specific movement, but I've heard of like that specific bombing.
Okay. So this is going to be a two-part episode. This first part's going to be about the founder prior to the organization's founding. And then the second part will cover what the organization did, as well as the infamous events that really didn't shock the nation as much as it should have. Like it had like national interest, but like it really should have been a turning point that wasn't. So one last note, one of my sources for this was an article for the Philadelphia Inquirer that was originally written in 1986 and then later digitized on the website, but it's now deleted and I'm not sure why. I couldn't find any exact reason, but it was unfortunately the best source I could find about Vincent Leaphart prior to MOVE, and I was able to corroborate a lot of the details in other sources, so I feel comfortable using it for certain parts, but there is that caveat of like, there might have been a reason it was deleted, and I'm not sure what that would be. We're going to be talking about Vincent Leaphart, and to talk about MOVE, we need to take it back to the birth of its founder, Vincent Lopez Leaphart. In West Philadelphia, born and raised, Vincent Leaphart came into the world on July 26, 1931, to parents Frederick and Lenny Mae.
Was that where he spent most of his days?
Yes.
Chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool, shooting some b-ball outside of the school.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he kind of ends up being the guys that were up to no good.
Oh, he was the guys who were up to no good. Oh,
I mean, not entirely, but there's a whole lot of assholes in this story, but that's going to be mostly part two. So his father, Frederick, worked as a handyman and a paper hanger, which I believe is just like someone who puts up wallpaper. Like a
paper hanger?
Yeah,
I do think that is that.
Yeah. Vincent was one of 10 children, 6 boys and 4 girls, so Lenny Mae had her hands full at home raising them. The children were all born in the span of 18 years, but then just in her early 40s, Lenny Mae abruptly passed away. Vincent would later blame the hospital for her death. Like, he would tell MOVE members that the hospital killed her. I don't know if there's any truth to that. I mean, like, hospitals in the 40s probably weren't, or I guess maybe 30s, could probably be liable for some shit.
Okay.
Frederick was devastated by the death of his wife, and he fell apart, according to neighbors. Having to raise 10 children as a sudden widower would be a lot to handle. I couldn't really find much on this specific part, but I'm assuming it resulted in the older children largely raising the younger ones. And I'm not sure where in the, 10 children, which, if he's one of the older ones or younger ones. So when he was 9, Vincent was diagnosed as orthogenetically backwards, or as Philly.com put it, and I'm sorry for this, educably mentally retarded. So I think today this would probably be more akin to a learning disability or something like ADHD, but that's what he got lumped in back in the day.
Right.
It's hard to say what specifically gave him such difficulty with school, because this would have been the late 30s and early 40s. So any kids that struggled were really just lumped into groups, and many were just written off as lost causes when it came to education. In any case, he wasn't very good at school. When he was first tested, his IQ was measured at 84. And granted, IQ tests and numbers, like, they're largely bullshit, and I don't think one administered to a kid in the 30s would be any form of accuracy, especially since he's African American and there's probably some of those extra factors at play here.
Right.
But in any case, he tested real low. He was then transferred to a school for slow learners to learn simple trades. So they were like, "You're not getting a higher education. Let's teach you how to plumb or whatever." But he ended up doing even worse there. He developed a spotty attendance record and was written up twice for unsatisfactory performance when he was 11 and 13. He was later tested again when he was 15, and his IQ had fallen to 79, which is still 4 points above Forrest Gump.
Whoa, don't be hating on Forrest Gump. He was a smart dude. He got money and did a bunch of stuff.
No, I'm just giving them a cinematic reference. Like, there's a big point in the beginning of Forrest Gump that, like, he's stupid, like he's not going to amount to anything, and then, like, the rest of the movie is him being all over the place and doing all kinds of interesting things.
Yeah, well, a lot of people put limits on other people.
Well, it's also just like intelligence is not like as black and white as a lot of people like to put it. Like,
yeah,
there's people who are incredibly smart in one area and incredibly dumb in another. It's kind of like, this story is like reminded me a lot of the Zizians when I was reading it. Like, kind of like there's a overlap, like a Venn diagram kind of thing going on. So while he tested low like that, Vincent did do relatively well in civics, but the rest left a lot to be desired. By the age of 16, he had the scholastic ability of a third grader and gave up on schooling. He was never very good at reading. I'm not sure if you could even consider him literate.
You said by 16?
Yeah, 16 was when he left.
He just didn't have a good teacher or somebody like taking the time. He probably could have read or learned how to do it, but he just was born in a bad time for that.
Yeah, like the odds were stacked against him.
Yeah.
And like, even if he, like, even in certain other circumstances, this, like, it probably would have gone the same route. But like, I'd hesitate to call him dumb necessarily. He's just like, he has something going on that makes school difficult for him. So at 16, he leaves. The next year, he was arrested for armed robbery and grand theft auto. The court records no longer show the verdict of the trial, but he was then drafted into the army, which to me implies that he may have been given the option of like prison or military service and took the latter, but I couldn't find out for certain.
What year was this?
This would have been, let's see here. I think this would have been like 48 or 49.
After World War II?
Yeah. So in any case, he ended up spending over a year fighting in the Korean War, which I don't think the Korean War started that early, so maybe it was a little bit later. He ended up fighting in the Korean War. He later mused on the stark contrast between the beauty of a sunrise over the Korean mountains and the horrors of war. So despite his abysmal educational achievements, many found Vincent to be exceptionally canny, or in some cases brilliant, and he became an impressive debater when the occasion arose. When Leaphart returned from Korea, he courted and married Dorothy Clark, or as she would later refer to herself, Princess Dottie. They married when they were 29 years old in 1961. This is a quote from Philly.com. In the only interview she granted about her life with Leaphart, she told an Inquirer reporter that during the 6 years before they separated, the Leapharts were, quote, an ordinary married couple. A close friend of the couple remembers Dorothy laboring to improve Vincent's reading and writing. The same friend also recalls Leaphart as, quote, a very level-headed person, very dependable. When he was young, he was handsome, stayed very clean. He would wear work clothes when he worked, but when he didn't, he wore exceptional-looking clothes. Vincent was a very smooth dresser. He liked nice tailored clothes, a nice suit, and decent shoes. Continuing the Philly.com quote, Leaphart was a charmer in those days, a vital, cheerful man who loved classical music. He was also a vigorous talker and debater, a man with firm ideas about everything. quote, "He sort of stepped into his father's shoes," said the family friend. "He took on a lot of responsibilities."
So you just didn't have like a very great formal education. He's just
Yeah, he had
stumbling over
he had
words.
skills that like would be considered intelligent. It's just the school system was not like terribly invested in like raising his educational status, it seemed.
Right.
Dottie goes on to say he was very dynamic. He always had a spirit of helping others. He always was a person to voice his opinion, but he tried to be just and fair to all. But he was a leader and not a follower. He was a very deep thinker. So after they got married, Vincent moved to New York City to study interior decorating while Dottie stayed in Philadelphia. I think he knew what his father did, and he was like, "Oh, I think I can like take that a bit further." So instead of just being a paper hanger, like a full-on interior decorator, which I would assume would be like a decent step up. The move put a strain on the marriage because they're living in separate cities. It's not like they have Skype.
Yeah. Send telegrams or whatever.
Yeah. But Dottie was also infertile, which caused further strain. In 1965, Dottie began following the teachings of a group called Kingdom of Yahweh. To her, the group was the answer to a question she was having about churches. Like, she just wasn't getting the answer she wanted from the church, but this group fulfilled that need in her life. One of the group's teachings was the principle of natural law. Because of that, she swore off meat, changing to a healthy diet of fresh vegetables, grains, and the like. Vincent continued to eat meat, but would later incorporate aspects of the kingdom's teachings into move philosophy. Finally, the distance became too much, and Dottie urged Vincent back to Philadelphia, which he eventually agreed to. According to Dottie, Vincent was only abusive to her twice, one of which was serious enough that in 1966 she charged him with assault and battery. After 6 years of marriage, they separated in 1967 and last saw each other in May of 1968. The assault case was dropped in 1970. Still, Dottie said that the separation was not hostile, simply that she made up her mind to make a new life for herself and for him as well. So after that, Vincent moved into the Powelton area of Philadelphia. His neighbors banded together, pooling their money to become a co-op. So in 1971, when Leaphart was 40, the co-op, called Community Housing Incorporated, established its manifesto with 14 names, including Vincent Leaphart. The collective...
Everything bad has a manifesto. Well, everything bad.
Co-ops themselves are not bad. Like, it gives you a lot more chance to like have agency over like where you're living, and this one sounds like it was pretty cool, but it did have some of the spirit of the 60s with things like, so the collective principle, the manifesto is called the Collective Principles of the Community Housing Inc. And it said things like, quote, "All decision making is non-hierarchical. Fuck.
That's a word.
Yeah, hierarchical. It was non-authoritarian and open to the entire membership." And another quote was, "The collective does not claim to be a substitute for revolution in our oppressive society." So co-ops were pretty common in the Powelton area of Philadelphia, as was the revolutionary rhetoric, you know, anti-Vietnam War, anti-government oppression, etc.
All the hippies and stuff, you know.
Yeah, so that also meant that like these areas, like a lot of people like hippies and just like eccentric people were in this area because it was less negative towards them than like
they had a community there and
yeah,
some sort of connection.
This is also an area with like a lot of row housing, so they're like individual houses, but they're all built like wall to wall,
so just like no yard space or anything like that. Really,
there might be yard space in the front and back, but there's no like alleys between houses or anything like that.
Kind of a fire hazard.
It can be, yeah, for sure. So after Dottie left, Leaphart developed some new habits. He was no longer a smooth dresser. Like he was no longer wearing the expensive suits. He stopped cutting his hair, eventually growing it into long dreads. And he worked numerous jobs, like a dog walker. He was also selling horse meat for dog food.
Horse meat. How does
I don't
one
know.
come across horse meat?
I couldn't tell you. I would assume, Philadelphia is a pretty busy area. I would imagine that you could find horse meat if you really look
I
for it,
suppose so.
especially at this time.
Yeah.
I think he's just going around finding horses and cutting some off of it and then running away.
That doesn't really sound like his MO, but it's also, I suppose, possible. I would assume it's basically like anytime that a horse gets put down for one reason or another, especially like we've all seen the like jokes about if a horse breaks its leg, it's blam.
Go
Which
to the glue
isn't-
factory.
Yeah, which isn't necessarily just a joke. Like that was often the case until like horse medicine dramatically improved. Is like a horse with a broken leg can't stand up, so it's not going to be good. So yeah, I think horse meat was available.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And eventually this caused a pack of dogs to just start following him around whenever he was outside walking. He also did more conventional jobs like roofing and carpentry, selling handmade, one-of-a-kind desks, and he had a knack for fixing broken TVs, which is interesting considering his later behavior.
Which is interesting because
makes sense. Oh, keep going.
it's interesting because like you said he went to trade school for like a little bit and was like fucking up there.
It wasn't... I wouldn't call it like a trade school, but it was just like a school for slow learners where they could like learn simple trades, like different kinds of manual labor, I would assume. I don't know how specific they were. When I threw out that plumber thing, it was just kind of a guess, really.
Okay.
This was also when he was like 9.
Yeah.
So,
fair enough. Yeah.
This all makes sense, though. I mean, after his lady leaves him, he becomes a disheveled man. What are you gonna do? Once your one true love is gone, you just ride into the abyss, and maybe you find another love and she fixes you. But other than that, you're just going down.
Maybe he shouldn't have fucked that up.
You kind of think like if he was really thinking about it, he probably should have just been like, all right, well, back to New York to interior design, but like maybe he didn't like it or this or that, or maybe it was too expensive. I don't know. In any case, at this point, he was largely well liked in the community. He was seen as an eccentric but amusing curiosity. And according to residents, the Palatine area was at that time and to an extent still a very tolerant place. That's what I was talking about with like the hippies and other people with abnormal behaviors like hanging out there.
Right.
One neighbor, Roland Goodman, said, quote, "He was a natural, kind type of person. Nice, resonant voice. He didn't talk loud. Anyone who had the time to deal with him, they liked him."
Fair enough.
So he was well liked enough that when he was close to losing his rented row house, the co-op stepped in and bought it for him.
That's nice of them.
I mean, that's like part of the appeal of co-ops is like in certain circumstances, they would be able to like do this. I think it's also just because they're like, if he moves out, like our co-op is less strong, and also like someone else could move in who like is against the co-op,
Yeah.
But this would end up being a very regrettable mistake.
King's against my co-op. He doesn't want to live in my co-op.
What?
You said you didn't want to live in my compound that I'm going to have one day.
Yeah, I said a compound, not a co-op.
It's the same thing,
No,
right?
it's not.
If we all live in the same place and then I build a bunch of houses for you guys that you guys are living in that all may be attached by tunnels and stuff, I mean, it's technically a co-op. It's just, and you're refusing.
If it's attached by tunnels, I don't want to be a part of that.
Like, I fear we just simply cannot give Kevin that kind of power.
We're going to have rules and stuff. I'm not going to overextend my power.
You are absolutely going to overextend your power.
Nah, I'm not.
Pickleball Friday, everybody! It's mandatory.
That would be fun.
No,
Dude, it's gonna be like 3 a.m. on a Wednesday night, and I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm alone in my house, and like, I'm gonna like masturbate or something, and then Kevin's just like, hey, you wanna play Gears? It's just like, how'd you get into my room?
Oh,
The secret
tunnel.
tunnels.
Yeah. That I
No,
walked.
I wouldn't do that. There would just be a schedule that you would get every year for like events that are planned or things that you have to do, and you have to agree to them.
Have to, huh?
It won't be that many. Just like, every other week or one every 3 weeks,
That's
something like that.
Kevin Appreciation Day of the month. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Get to work on that
family-
statue of me.
Yeah.
Family style dinners every Sunday.
Oh my God. At what point, like, do you think in this plan he's going to mandate that we all have to call him Emperor Kevin?
I'm sure there's going to be a point where he makes us build him a statue of himself.
Yeah.
No, I would never do that.
Again from Philly.com. One day, about a year after he moved onto Pearl Street, neighbors looked out and saw a young white man standing on Leopard's porch with an armful of papers. Quote, I thought he was some kind of a school teacher, a neighbor said. As it happened, there was some teaching going on, but Leopard was doing all the instructing. He had found his first disciple, a man who would become a key figure in the history of Move, Donald Glassy. So Glassy was immediately hooked on Leopard's philosophizing and told Leopard he should write them down. Leopard admitted that he wasn't very good at writing, so Glassy offered to do it for him. They moved in together to work on it. So Leopard dictated and Glassy wrote it all down, reading it back to Leopard until they were both satisfied. Finally, it was organized and eventually titled The Guidelines, over 300 pages of Leopard's anti-technology back-to-nature view. So,
The guidelines.
Yeah, which, like, that's why I find it interesting that he was so good at fixing TVs, because apparently, like, he's not into any of that shit.
Hey, TVs are not technology. That's just entertainment.
What a strange thing to say.
I guarantee you there's some boomers and stuff out there that do not think TV is technology. And because, they watch their shows and stuff on it all the time.
I suppose that's possible. Still a strange thing to say. So according to Philly.com, quote, it had an accusatory tone attacking science and technology. By the way, like, another caveat, the Philly.com article has a pretty accusatory tone about this whole thing. Like, it had some decent information, but it also had some subjective opinions about certain things. So according to a co-op member, quote, it was some of the strangest prose I've ever read. The metaphor I remember was cloaked in vomit.
Yuck.
Yeah, and apparently, like, the whole book was filled with stuff like that. After it's complete...
Hold on. Say that, like, you said it was cloaked in vomit? Like, vomit was all over it?
No, the metaphor that was written in the book somewhere was cloaked in vomit. I don't know what it's referring to. The co-op member probably doesn't remember. He just remembers the words cloaked in vomit. So it was probably talking about, like, society in some way. It's like this aspect of society is cloaked in vomit.
Well, he's talking about the TVs. They're cloaked in vomit.
It's probably something technology related, but I couldn't tell you what.
TVs aren't technology, according to Kevin.
Well, there you go.
Well, I maybe back then it was, but I guarantee you now they don't consider them like real technology.
Whatever helps you sleep at night.
I'm just saying. I bet if you put a poll out.
Whatever. So after its completion, Leopard and Glassy would take it to the co-op meetings where Leopard would sit serenely while Glassy would hijack the meeting and proselytize his teachings. Because of this dynamic, many people believed that it was Glassy that created the writings. Later, people would also suspect he was an agent provocateur from the FBI or similar government agency. Because remember, this was the time when, like, COINTELPRO was going real hard, and like this is only a couple years before the cops killed Fred Hampton. So, like, it's an understandable thought to have.
Right.
After the book had been written, they started developing more problematic behaviors. Due to their opinions on technology and animals, they refused to take any preventative measures against pests. At first, it was refusing to use roach spray because they were concerned that it would hurt the numerous dogs they had.
Which I mean, it probably would have back then.
Yeah, that's very possible, but they also didn't do any alternatives. Soon, not just their apartment, but the entire building was infested with roaches.
I mean, if you don't stomp those things out quick, and you just let them fester, they come everywhere.
Yeah.
It's gross and insane.
And then there's like really no way to get rid of them besides some kind of poison.
Yeah, you have to like fumigate the whole thing and then make sure that you like even do the outside and stuff coming in.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'll just continue to breed.
Yeah. So they were living that Asmongold life.
Hell yeah.
When co-op members went to talk to Vincent, he became hostile, telling them if they weren't with him, they were against him and that people should work to support him. So just a few years after buying his place to keep him there, the co-op began working to evict him. In the winter of 1973, Leaphart and Glassy moved into a massive Victorian just across Pearl Street from the co-op. So like they were just like, all right, we'll leave. And then they're right on the other side of the street.
But we're going to keep eyes on you.
Yeah. And we'll get to that in part 2, some of the stuff they do. It also calls it a Victorian split house. I think that just means it's like a duplex, but it might have more than just 2 units. But it's like a really big house, so it's got multiple people living there.
Yeah.
So the landlord later said Leaphart had, quote, a tone that was not gentle. It had an element of brutality, but that he allowed them to rent the place because he didn't know anyone without a place to live, which is an act of compassion he probably greatly regretted nearly immediately. Soon, more people started showing up and the group grew as more members were in and out of Leaphart's new residence. And Vincent Leaphart adopted a new name, John Africa.
John F.
That's a name.
Yeah. And he had a quote where it was like, it's like, it has nothing to do with like solidarity with African Americans. It's like, I chose the name Africa because it's where all life began, which I think is kind of telling for things to come. Their organization was originally called the American Christian Movement for Life. This would quickly be shortened to simply MOVE in all capital letters. And that's where we're going to end this episode. I wanted to kind of ease us back in after our long hiatus, and the next episode's going to be literally explosive.
Like diarrhea?
Sure. So that gives you like an idea of who this guy was before MOVE really got going. Next episode is going to be what happens with MOVE.
Was it weird that when you said explosive that my mind went to like a diarrhea rather than a bomb?
Yes, it is quite strange.
Because once I sat there and festered in it a little, I was like, he's probably talking about a bomb rather than diarrhea.
Yeah, you also offered it up so like sincerely. It was like, oh, you mean like diarrhea? It's like, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I was really thinking. That was the problem. And I was like, oh, fuck, I sound dumb.
Yeah.
No. I looked up the Victorian like split like houses.
Uh-huh.
Like you guys have seen them before. Like,
Sure.
it's like if you saw a picture, you would know exactly what it is.
Does it look like a duplex though? Like,
yeah, they're basically duplexes, but it's like in the city. You know, it's like attached like houses, but duplex.
Yeah,
like,
so it kind of gives it more of
stories.
like a complex kind of vibe than.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or
but
like
they have like their own doors.
or like
shit.
a very small fortress.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, any questions about this one or final thoughts?
No, that was quick though. I mean,
Yeah, I knew this one was going to be quick. I didn't think it was going to be that quick, but just kind of rolled right through it. Like I said, like we haven't done this in a while, so I didn't want to like bog us down with a real long one. I wanted to make sure like we actually like could get this all out. And also
Okay.
like if next episode is going to have a lot in it, so it'll probably be longer than this, but I'm not sure how long.
gotta get our brains locked back in, you know?
Yeah.
Gotta focus.
Yeah. And also like I kind of wanted to like just chat with you guys off the recording. So like I kind of wanted this one to not be a huge undertaking.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've all chatted together. Like just personally too.
I don't think we've chatted besides text since like the last time we recorded.
I think you and I had like a one-on-one sort of thing in between, but
yeah, and then we were supposed to have another one, but that didn't happen.
Yeah. Just talking about kicking Kevin out.
Cool.
So yeah, any questions on this or final thoughts?
No, I want to recap. Yeah, so the special guy is not Glass. Grew up, beat his wife, then got disheveled, became part of a co-op. Then did some other stuff. Then this Glass guy came along and started recording his sayings or his like philosophies. Correct?
Yeah, like he would talk about this with anyone who was willing to listen, and Glassy took it a step further by like really leaning into it.
Leaning into it and writing it down. Then they get kicked out of the co-op because they're weirdos.
They're just
And
too
now
weird.
they're living, now they're living across. Do you think they got kicked out not just because they're weirdos or because they were like too good of friends, or he was like, Glass was such a glazer that they thought he was gay and they were like, we can't have these gay guys around?
No, I think, I mean, there is certainly a possibility that there's a little bit of that, but I think it's mainly like, all right, something's changed, and this, like, Vincent has become like a problem. Like he's constantly like hijacking our meetings to talk about like whatever he wants to talk about, so we don't get anything done. And on top of that, we all have roaches because he wouldn't spray like the rest of us.
Right.
Like everyone's met a bad neighbor, and this one starts to get weirder and weirder. So like they got the roaches. They also just have like a shit ton of stray dogs that follow them around, like, and that they let live with them. So it probably stinks. It's probably really loud, and like they're not going to get these dogs their shots. Like these dogs could have anything, you know.
So they're gross. It's basically, he sounds very similar to the Men in Black villain with all the roaches.
The giant roach.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, Edgar. I mean, I'd say more like probably more like a Pigpen type character, where it's just like you can see the rolling dust clouds when he walks. But yeah, they're kind of gross now. Like they're too gross for the co-op now. Next episode, they get way grosser.
Way more
Oh,
gross.
hell yeah.
I'm like, so there might be some diarrhea mixed in with some explosions.
Yeah. There is that element to it.
Some
Cool.
people explosions. Excited for that.
Yeah. So we'll also hear more about like their actual like moves, opinions on certain things, and some of them like are pretty reasonable, and some of them are fucking wild.
So we get to hear the moves manifesto this time.
We'll hear bits of it, yeah.
Okay.
Some of their. I mean, I can tell you a little bit of it right now. Like some
No,
of the,
save it, so we can come on, so we hear it all in one episode.
okay. Yeah. That's pretty much all I got for this one.
Cool. Unless Mike has anything witty to say.
Nothing too witty. I'm interested to see how much more gross they can get. I'm hoping it's Asmongold tier.
In certain aspects, I would say so. It's on paper like it is gross, but it's not like you guys aren't gonna like be throwing up or anything.
They don't have like piss drawers or anything.
You're getting close.
Oh hell yeah! Love some piss drawers.
Yeah.
Fun.
Hated it when my mom found mine.
You didn't really have one, did you?
No.
I hope not. He might just say no to be covering his ass because he knows we're judging him right now.
Never know.
Yeah.
Never
He's
know.
he's definitely a crusty sock or crusty like boxer type guy.
You
Though.
never know.
No,
I
he's got
have
the
figures
coconut.
for that.
Oh yeah, he's the coconut guy.
Yeah.
No, I have anime
Yes.
figures I just leave covered.
Oh,
in
in the jar.
not even in a jar. They're just out in the open, exposed to the elements.
Oh,
I would recommend not
They
touching
just look.
got to
They
keep your
just look
cats away
like-
from them.
Yeah.
They look like used candles. It's just
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. Well, then we'll leave this as it is here today. Next episode's going to have a lot of information to cover, but yeah, that is the beginning of the story of Move.
cool. Well, guys, thanks for listening. You can catch us more on X at @what_we_consume and on Instagram at What We Consume Podcast.
You're supposed to put this at the beginning of the episode, Kevin.
He can add it in if he
I'm
wants.
just being a tit. I'm not plugging socials anymore, so it's fine. You can.
Fair enough. I'm still at King Hagathor on both Twitter and Blue Sky. Other than that, bye-bye.